Hey, welcome back. I've got a piece of 3/4 inch poplar here. I'm gonna make a bee frame with my CNC. Let's see how this works out. I'm trying an unconventional design, not nearly as simple as the square frames that you just cut out with a regular saw. This is gonna be a lot more complex, but hey, that's the way CNC owners do it. We just take something that's really simple and easy to do and has been working for generations, and we find a way to spend hours and hours and hours programming it and then setting it up and then longer cutting it than would have taken with a normal saw. But you know what? Just because the wheel works doesn't mean we have to not invent a square one. Come on, regular woodworkers, leave us alone. We're just trying to, I don't know what we're trying to do. I'm still trying to figure that out. All right, let's make a frame. All right, so starting out with a basic pattern, I'm just gonna cut the pattern out here. But the reason I'm doing this is because there's two different ways that you can make a bee frame historically, either a foundationless or a foundation frame. And the idea is giving the bees somewhere to build that we can come back in and harvest the honey off of. And that's what I'm looking for doing here. And this is the way that we can come in is cut these out, and this is going to give the bees somewhere to build. And whoa, maybe that wasn't a good idea. I didn't do tabs on each individual piece. I did tabs on the ends and screwed the ends down, but I figured the little pieces wouldn't be an issue. But it seems that after they get cut out, they really want to jump around. And that's not necessarily a good thing. So this was my first rendition of this. And as you notice, I had a few pieces fly. I made 10 more of these, and all the ones that took off were just the smaller pieces. And they weren't flying with enough velocity that I felt it was an imminent threat. But it was a big enough deal that I did make a revision in my Mark II version of this, where I didn't cut all the way through. I left an onion skin, and for that I just used a flush trim router bit to finish that cleanup, and it worked really fast, really well, and it helped me clean up those tabs that I'm going to have on the end of this also. So it really didn't add a whole lot of time, but it added safety. So just leave that last 50 thou thickness of wood at the base, and then go back and clean that up later so you don't have this to deal with. Stay away from your machine while you're cutting, unless you know exactly what your machine's going to do, and then stay out of anywhere that it's going to go. So I do not recommend reaching in. If you're new to CNC, I would definitely say hit the E-stop and take care of that piece. If you're complacent and old with CNC, I would say it's probably still a good idea to hit the E-stop and deal with that way. So I, in future cuts of this, used a stick, which is a much better option than reaching your hand anywhere near the moving bit. As I was saying, I'm cutting this comb out to give structure for the bees to build their honeycomb on, which gives them kind of a really aesthetic look. And that's what I'm going for here, is a designer look for the comb to grow out or be drawn out on. It also makes a foundationless frame that has supports throughout. A traditional foundationless frame is going to have wires that give the honey support on a hot day. I don't think I'm going to need those because I've got smaller surface area where I'm going to have the comb drawn out even when it's got honey in it. So as I said earlier, I did leave tabs right here, and those I just cleaned up with a flush trim bit, and that worked so great that that's the way I changed my design moving forward. Okay, not sure how thrilled I am about these things jumping around all over the place. Little ones I don't mind, but these big ones start getting in the way, and they could cause some issues. But I didn't feel like taping everything down, so I just secured these board with 4 screws, and then left tabs in there. So I've got my frame, had a couple of little issues, had some pieces that I knew were going to go loose. They didn't really do anything too bad. They could have, these bigger ones might have, but they didn't. So I'll figure something out for that. Had a split here in the board. I think that was either a weak spot or even a split before I started. So I just went and did some CA glue to fill that in. But I got a frame. One more thing that I've got to figure out how to deal with is these are considerably thinner than your standard frames. And the standard frames have this spacer over here that even if you push them all the way together, they'll never squish the bees here. It's just that spot right there. So I think I'll glue a piece of wood here on each side to make that a little wider. So when I drop those in, it fits the same spacing as a standard 10 bar frame. I am doing this for the woodworking, and so I will update you on my woodworking progress on these. But because there's probably some other beekeeping woodworkers out there, I will let you know how this works as a solution or a different option for a foundationless hive. I may need to glue some sticks up in here to give them a place to start, but I think this will give me more strength because there's a smaller area there. I don't know how it's going to work out with harvesting it, but I'm hoping I can get these really cool looking hexagon shaped chunks of honeycomb. So stick around, I'll keep you updated on the woodworking and the beekeeping. But right now, I got to make a couple more of these and got to get to my bees.